Welcome back to part 2 of the lesson. So we were just looking through this part of the text and identifying some of the techniques used by the writer in order to highlight how poorly treated dogs were and to emphasise the importance of rescue centres such as the Battersea's Dogs Home in treating animals much more fairly. What I would like you to do next is to choose one of the 3 techniques, and you're going to write one sentence that explains why you think this is an effective choice to use. I have given you a sentence starter at the bottom of the page, and I would like you to complete it in order to show your understanding. Let's hear an example first. I might say that I think the writer has used pathos in order to create sympathy for dogs and make people believe that opening Battersea Dogs Home is a really good idea. You can use my sentence as a guide if you like, or you might choose one of the other techniques and explain why you think it's been used. Pause the video and do that now, please. Alright, so we're going to read 2 more paragraphs of the text, and when we've done that we're going to compare it to the text we read yesterday. If you remember, that was the text that described the treatment of dogs in Japan. So we want to identify some differences between the people in the text and their lives, as well as the treatment of dogs. Let's read text B first, and then we're going to compare it back to text A. Text B is on the right hand side. I'll read it. It says, "Every dirty little ragamuffin boy, I'm sorry to say, seems to take the greatest pleasure in pelting and persecuting these poor outcast animals. Destitute and poor, he is forced to scrape a living and takes revenge on all poor animals unfortunate enough to cross his path. He is driven to beg or steal until a lucky windfall provides him with money. He is a dirty, houseless, poor little gutter prowler." At that point, we step in, receive the poor animal into the home, feed him and take care of him and restore him to his master. If he be sought after, or if not, exert ourselves to obtain another kind of master for him. I may here just make a passing remark, that no distinction is made. Every homeless dog, be his race or condition what it may, is received into the home when brought here. Okay. So we have a description here of a person as well as of an animal. And we'll see in text B that he's described the person as a dirty little ragamuffin boy, somebody who is destitute and poor and forced to scrape a living. All of these details seem to indicate that this is a young person or a child who is living on the streets, somebody who doesn't have a very nice life, who doesn't have any luxuries of their own, and seems to, according to this, take the greatest pleasure, so get some enjoyment from being rather cruel to animals. It says that he takes revenge on the poor animals, and let's see if we can identify how he does this. Pelting. Well, when I see the word pelting, I think of things being thrown, to pelt, to throw, and persecuting, treating them very badly. So it seems that we get a sense of not just these dogs living on the streets, but children too. And those poor children not treating the animals very kindly. We also get description in the second paragraph here that looks at what Battersea Dogs Home does by taking the animals in and ensuring that they are given to, what we're told, a kind master, so a new owner, somebody who will care for them. It's interesting to me how different this text is to text A that we read last lesson. You can see highlighted here that the person in this one and their life is much more comfortable, much more successful. They're able to live in an expensive neighbourhood and afford lots of things, including a Porsche and a stylish apartment. So Toshiko Horikoshi is being compared here, contrasted with the little ragamuffin boy. We can see not only that their lives are quite different, but also their treatment of dogs. In this case, Tinkerbell and Ginger having their own wardrobe, we're told. If you remember all those jumpers, dresses, and fancy dress outfits. So what I would like you to do next is create yourself a grid. In that grid, you're going to pop in some details that answer the question, how are people's lives and the treatment of dogs different in each text? In text A, I want you to find me 2 details that describe somebody's life and 2 details that describe the treatment of dogs. And I'd like you to do the same for text B. 2 details that describe people's lives and 2 that describe the treatment of dogs. You can pause the video and complete your table, and I'll go back to the previous slide so you can read that text again if you need to. Don't forget, you also have the PDF on Show My Homework if you want to refer to it. Okay, so you may have put in this top one here for people's lives, you may have put in the expensive neighbourhood or stylish apartment. Oh, won't let me write on the screen. For the treatment of dogs, you may have put that they had designer clothes and jumpers, dresses, coats. In text B, for people's lives, you may have written down destitute and poor, or forced to scrape a living. In text B, for the treatment of dogs, you may have written down that they were pelting and persecuting these poor animals, or driven to beg or steal, dirty, houseless, or a poor little gutter prowler. We can see how truly different these people and animals' lives were. Okay, that brings us to the end of today's lesson. I'm going to ask you to complete your exit ticket though, and this is the piece of work that you're going to then submit to your teachers before you finish today. So I would like you to use the details that we have looked at throughout this lesson and taken from your grid, and write me a short summary of the difference in people's lives and the treatment of dogs in the 2 texts that we've read in yesterday's and today's lesson. You can use the frame here to guide you. Remember, we're going to include a statement from text A, a quotation too if we can, and make an inference. When we're making an inference, we're going to say what we learn about and that person's life or the treatment of dogs from that piece of evidence in the text. We're then going to use a word that shows a contrast and a difference, such as however. You might want to choose a different one. And we're going to do the same for text B. What can you infer? And then make your overall statement at the bottom there. Okay, I hope you have had a good lesson, guys. Have a lovely day, and I will see you back in college very soon.